Welcome to my Otome Awards of 2022. And because new releases were a bit rare in Japan last year, namely being Hamafuda, Radiant Tail, Tengoku Struggle, Sympathy Kiss and Money Parasite, of which I've only played 3, so a top 3 is a bit pointless. So I decided to give Otome Awards to all the games I've played this year, which are more than 30, and rank them by category. And as those are the games I played this year, you also find reviews of almost all of them in my review playlist. Starting with the best opening, which had, without a doubt for me, Tengai ni Mao, because it slams so much, almost as good as Cupid Parasite. And it just lightens my mood and makes me smile every time I hear it. The second and third place goes to Tengoku Struggle and Radiant Tail, the new releases of this year, also for their happy and energetic mood. The best soundtrack goes to Norn 9, also a category I didn't really have to think about who would the winner be, because Norn 9 has such a beautiful soundtrack, and there's especially one tune that just doesn't leave my mind, and I hear it so often, suddenly it pops up in my brain. And what is really wonderful about that tune, that it's actually connected to the story, and I've only seen that twice. Also in Unbirthday Song, the music is also kind of connected to the story. But in No 9, it's so magical and beautiful once you find out the connection of that very song to the plot. It's so beautiful. The second place takes Ni Let Midari no Tenbin for its like jazzy and calming soundtrack. And the third place goes to Bidoshana Senki, because they managed really well the combination of modern music but still also traditional instruments. I think they merged that really well. They have a really strong and also with techno elements soundtrack, but somehow they made it work way better than in Nitrate, for example. The best VA of this year I discovered for me is undoubtedly Benkei's voice actor in that very role. But also Akito from No 9, I really learned to appreciate this voice actor in that role and started to buy games just for him. In the third place, which could also be the first place, because I think this is one of the most underappreciated voice actors I know of. And I met him this year as Seisuke in Sweet Clown, and he also voiced Orlok in Pure Fiore or Natsume in Ephemeral. Just hearing him gives me the shivers, I don't know. He has such a powerful and yet soft voice, and he has such a wide range of emotions. And his voice is so full of energy, and I love it so much. I wish he had more games. Please tell me, if you know that voice actor, what do I need to play? I might become addicted to a mobile game where he voices a character and I need to get him. Best side character of the games I played this year. Place 1 is Rieseka from Ni Let Midari no Tenbin. He's a Chinese character who reminds me of another Chinese character I dearly love. I'm not gonna say who, but you might guess who. And second place takes Isami's mom in Hanayaka Nari wa ga Ichizaku, because she's just the best and supportive mom and really helps her dense son pursue his love. And third place goes to Luna from Radiant Tail. She plays an important role in Eon's route, and her story touched me so much because it was Eon's route probably, and I love Eon. I will talk about him later. Yeah, but that character also was so interesting. The best main characters I met this year. The first place is Nanami from No 9, because I want to be her. If I was in a Otome game, I want to be like her. And I think, like, from all the MCs I've met, I think I'm most similar to her. She seems very cold and distant from other people, and she's allowed to be mean to the allies in one route, because she's kind of a bit of a, I know, sassy, not really sassy, but she's so cold that's already funny again. And her backstory is really emotional and tender. And once you learn what is behind that cold shell, I really want to be like her. The second place I met just recently is Hotori from Unbirthday Song. In Unbirthday Song, she suddenly gets the message that she will die in a month. And all her reactions and thought processes are so relatable. I think when you're at high school, the only thing you would think about is like falling in love. And she has that crush at school she wants to confess to, and it's like, oh, everyone knows the situation, don't we? That we're at high school, have that crush, and everything that seems to matter is to progress that relationship. And third place takes Rin from Tengoku Struggle, also because she's so easily related to. She has very relatable strengths and weaknesses. You can imagine to be her in her reactions, because she's not overly strong or not overly weak. She has both sides. And that is really good to see, because I think mostly you have very strong or weak characters, and she is in the middle. And she also has that thirsty side in her, which a lot of Otome gamers can probably relate to as well. Games that made me squeal the most, which means like scream because it's so cute, kick my feet because it's so cute. The first place takes Shinobi Koyotsutsu, because this fanservice games just gives you every sweet moment you could ever imagine. But also, the characters of Tengai ni Mao are so weird in a cute way that they made me blush a lot. And a bit on the more pure, cuter side is Yunohana Spring, which has such a cozy shoujo manga vibe, but has so extremely cute and sweet moments and beautiful CGs. It really made me feel all fuzzy. The game that made me laugh the most was Tengai ni Mao again, mainly because of the really quirky LIs. They all are kind of emotionally underdeveloped. They don't know what love is and need to figure out throughout their roots what this feeling is they have, but at the same time they're extremely passionate about that strange feeling called love and desire. And this combination of not understanding but yet being extremely passionate has such high potential for extremely cute and steamy moments that are hilarious at the same time. Same goes for Shinobi Koyotsutsu, where the story is that whenever you get flustered, you emit a strange magic that the men around you act as if they are in love with you. And that, of course, is just hilarious. It's cute and hilarious at the same time. And lastly, Clap, but not so much because of the story, but rather because of that infamous minigame. And I have to admit, it's just fun. I can't deny that. Games that made me cry the most. The first place takes Radiant Tail Eon's Root. I'm not sure what exactly it is. I think what made me cry is that Eon is such a gentle character who earns to be in a better situation than he is, and who needs a lot of help to get out of the situation. And I think that was what made his root to me so tragic. That he was in that situation that was completely unfair, completely undeserved, because he's such a cinnamon roll. He needs to be loved that badly. And then how you are able to help him out of that desperate situation is just so heartwarming. It made me cry all the time because it was so unfair and thus so tragic. And Eon was so sweet and he just needs all the love in the world, and I think that was what made me cry a lot. I didn't even stop crying in his root, honestly, just cried non-stop, but sometimes it was sad crying, sometimes it was happy crying. It was a really nice mixture. Second place takes the other new release of this year, Tengoku Struggle, The True Root. And that was mainly sad crying, because the revelations in this root were so heartbreaking and awful and tragic but terrible, and they actually left a bitter taste after I finished the root. I couldn't really be happy because of all those horrible revelations. And third place takes Non, especially with Akito's root, or generally most of Nanami's LIs, because I like Nanami so much, really made me feel a lot of emotions, and especially Akito. I think it was more kind of a tragic crying, or that is so sad, but it's gonna be beautiful later. They're gonna be happy later, but just not now. But I know the time is gonna come, and that feeling made me cry. That they are now in a tragic situation, but it's gonna be better. It's kind of like a hopeful crying, if that makes sense. It was a really beautiful experience. The games I dropped this year were Diabolic Lovers. I wasn't prepared for that. Sweet Clown. It has in theory a nice plot, but the writing of the dialogue felt extremely boring to me, so I'm gonna pick it up later again, because of the voice actors who are extremely good. And Chochojiken, also because of the shallow writing, but the characters are interesting, so I'm gonna pick it up eventually. Like all the games. Can't let a game stay unfinished. The 3 disappointments of this year were Koezado wa Kayana, because I thought it'd be steamy, but it wasn't, and because of all the non-consensual stuff I didn't expect and I don't like. Then Kenga Kimi, I know there's so many fans, but just for me it was too much boring historical plot and too few romance. Sorry. And lastly, Kimi Yuki and Tearblade, which are by the same writer, and No, I don't like the style of that writer at all. It bores me so much. And the reason why especially Kimiyuki was so disappointing, Tearblade as well, but Kimiyuki especially, that it could have been beautiful. I mean, look at it, it looks so beautiful. The sprites are so beautiful. The music, the setting with this winter and snowy and everything. And the characters and the setting could have been interesting. It could have been beautiful. But the writing just messed it up so bad that it's really one of the worst games I've ever played. Most pleasantly surprising, on the other hand, were firstly Hanayaka Nari Waga Ichizoku. Maybe because I played it without expecting a lot, I just like the setting that you're in I think you're in the Taisho period and become a maid in that rich household with 5 brothers who all bully you. If you like being bullied, then it's major fun. And the MC just ignores the bullying and carries on. She's really cool. It has a good mixture of funny scenes and a bit of that historical family plot. And what then, kind of as a consequence, also surprised me was the spiritual successor, you could say. The game with the same setting as Hanayaka Nari Waga Ichizoku, where also the 5 guys from that family have a cameo appearance, that is, again, Tengai Nima. Well, yeah, with also the setting is slightly similar, and we're now in the Japanese 30s. Move in with a family to help their restaurant. And that family, again, has 5 sons who aren't particularly pleased by your presence. Not all of them bully you, but all of them are emotionally challenged. Some situations in this game are still so vivid in my memories because they were so surprising and fun, and I just love it. I think I love it even more than Hanayaka Nari now in retrospection. And the last surprise was Clap, because I didn't expect it to be good. I thought it's just a fan servicey game where you can hear your voice actors moan while you spank them, which is part of it, the game, of course. But when you play it, you see that's not really the heart of the game. The heart of the game are the cute little backstories of the characters and the cute little plot that isn't deep, but still touching in its way. And one scene actually made me cry. I was pleasantly surprised by the high quality of the plot or story and characters that came on top of the obviously hilarious and embarrassing minigame. The best plot, though, overall, this year had for me Dance with Devils. I haven't finished it, but this game is so action-packed, and all the time something happens, be it like the action plot or romance plot. All the time something happens, and it's always good. It's never boring, and I rarely see that in an Otome game, that it's really never boring. Like, every sentence is important and full of tension. The greatest overarching plot for me was Norn 9, though, because of the almost philosophical issues they touch upon, like how is the world supposed to be? What would you do to save the world? What is humankind? And those are so interesting questions. And I love it when an Otome game touches upon those matters. As always, they don't go super deep, but they give you the hint, come on, think about that. Ask you the question, what are you willing to sacrifice for a certain goal? And that made my experience with Norn so magical, having all those questions in my head and see how the different LIs find different answers to those questions. That's really spectacular in my opinion. And third place takes Ni Ladmidari no Tenbin for the murder mystery plots. Here it's not so much about the overarching plot, but the net of side characters that go along with the plot and that at the end reveal all their connections and why things happened and who influenced who and knew who and did what to whom and all that. Since Ni Ladmidari no Tenbin, I haven't read a game that has so interesting and many side characters who are connected with each other. The best kiss scenes this year had first Yona from Tengoku Struggle, because I liked his character overall, and because the setting of the kiss scene was very unique. The situation, of course, is full of passion and contradicting feelings. Yeah, I extremely loved that contradicting feelings that emphasized the passion of the characters. Similarly passionate as the kiss scene with Shizuru in Ni Ladmidari no Tenbin. Yeah, where again, maybe that's the thing I love. You have contradicting feelings, but then passion wins. And now that I think about it, the third kiss scene has a similar dynamic. It's with Fujita from Chonodoku. And again, it has a really passionate explosion, and I love that explosion of passion. The descriptions of the scene are ooh, glad you can't hold back anymore. Coming to the last 3 awards, the best LI, the best route, and my favorite games. My favorite LIs of this year with, in the first place, Benkei from Vidoshana. He just stole my heart with his loyalty and with their pure love that was juxtaposed to the villain of the story. And normally I like the villain because normally villains are hot. And when we were in a situation with the villain in Benkei's route, I was like, oh, I now want to date the villain. But then I got back to Benkei and how he solved that situation and how he helped the MC to overcome her traumatic experience was so beautiful and pure and blissful. And that, of course, on top with his looks that match my liking, and his gorgeous voice actor with this deep and soft voice. I cannot help but love him, which is weird because normally my favorite ally would be young. They still are like black and white, but for this year, for the new characters I met, Benkei it is. Second favorite character this year was Eon in Radiant Tail. I already mentioned it because of the tragedy of this character, that he's so gentle and kind and actually like very soft and warm, but the outer circumstances made him act like harshly and are very hard on him, very undeserved. And that for me makes this character so romantic, that he has to have this hard outer shell, but on the inside just wants a hug and to be loved. And when you finally can give that love to him, it's so beautiful. And my third favorite newly matched character this year would be Yona from Tengaku Struggle. Again, just because I like his design with the red hair and the muscles. And also because he has these two layers. He's, on the one hand, very mean and harsh. On the other hand, he's like a little boy and just wants a hug. The best routes this year were first Shiki in Dance with Devils. I haven't played the other routes yet. Dance with Devils is so action-packed, the routes are just... there's so much happening. And Shiki is a very fun character. He's sadistic and masochistic at the same time, which obviously causes some interesting situations. Then Akito from Norn 9. Because of his uniquely tragic and yet beautiful backstory. And the dynamic with Nanami is just so beautiful. And lastly, of course, Eon, because of the reasons I already mentioned. I guess I just like crying, and his route made me cry the most, so it's one of the best routes I've played this year. Coming to my top 3 games this year. Place 3 takes Tengai ni Mao, basically for its quirky characters and beautiful art, by my favorite artists, see her games here. Second is then Norn 9, for the plot and all the questions it asked, and the different answers it gave, without giving like a certain answer, and for the uniquely tender and tragic backstories of the characters. And place 1 goes to, maybe that's a good opportunity to, as always, thank my patrons and members for supporting me and for staying with me no matter what and giving me the motivation with their immense support to keep going. And place 1 goes to Nilad Mirari no Tenbin. I could have mentioned this game in all categories, but I tried not to because it's just one of my favorite games and I can't stay neutral when it comes to it, as it somehow ticks all my boxes. I love the setting in the Taisho era. It is calm and yet had this hopeful change atmosphere. The main character is extremely relatable and cute, and all her allies, except maybe for one, are extremely attractive and have really interesting characters and backstories. And then in each route you have this little murder mystery, and then the overarching plot connecting the side characters and revealing what lies beyond what meets the eye, kind of. Especially in combination with the sequel. It was such a perfect Otome experience for me, because it's romantic and steamy and has a gorgeous plot with gorgeous character, gorgeous voice acting. One of my favorite voice actors is of the party. And there's just nothing I don't like about this game. Normally I have some gripes here and there, be it the pacing, the plot or whatever, but in this game there was never a moment when I played that thinking, oh, that's kind of boring or badly written, or I can't relate to their feelings. It was just perfect for me. Very similar to Pure Fuel in that regard, that I just think it's the perfect Otome game experience for me. That's all I want. So I definitely recommend watching my review about Nilad Mirari no Tenbin, which is already localized and will be coming to the Switch in March of 2023.